cats, we're back again this week on the Balls from Ellwood show, and with me I have Jason Y. You might know him as Arby from Poultrygeist, one of my favorite all-time Troma films. Everybody that knows Balls knows I'm a super Troma fan, and why the hell would I not have this dude on? He is completely amazing. What's up, buddy?
Hey, do you know my last name? I like to see if people can pronounce it.
I can never pronounce it correctly. I just heard you say it, and I still can't recreate it. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I was sweating about it before, because like I've been watched interviews where people pronounced your name, and I still can't fucking do it. So I mean,
Yachanin.
Yachanin. I was close.
You were close. Where you say Yachanin, right?
Yeah.
I probably get that one the most is Yachanin or Yachanin.
I see. I thought you were Yachanin for the longest time. I'm not even gonna like try to bullshit you. I mean,
it doesn't make any sense though because it's Yach. Why would it be Yachanin? That should be Sh. Yash.
Well, I went to public school for one, so I mean, take from that what you will. I mean, but anyway, I've been dying to. I can't believe you're even doing this, man. First of all, I want to thank you so much. This means a lot to me. And I want to ask you, where did you grow up at?
So little town outside of Cleveland, Ohio. Go Cavs, and hey, go Browns. We got Odell Beckham Jr. I don't know if there's any, Giants fans who listen, but they're probably gonna be really angry now because it's going to Cleveland. So outside of Cleveland, maybe about like 20-25 minutes outside of Cleveland, there's a little town called Brunswick, Ohio. You ever hear of it?
I've heard of Brunswick.
Have you really? Oh, most
we've
people
delivered to Brunswick before, actually.
You have? You've been to Brunswick? Well, most people when they ask me where I'm from, I usually just say Cleveland because no one's ever heard of that town.
That's probably like 2 hours from here, I think. Like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Probably, yeah. So I grew up there in I was born in Cleveland, and then when I was 5, we moved to Brunswick, Ohio.
For what reason?
The neighborhood I was born in Cleveland, maybe not the greatest neighborhood in the world. I shared one room with my brother and sister, and I think, my mom and dad just wanted to get us out of there and get us maybe into a bigger house, maybe, somewhere a little, maybe where the schools were a little better. I don't really know. I was 5 when we moved, but, I'm guessing that's maybe why they just wanted a little more space and just a little more, better school system, I guess. Although I studied to be an actor, so I don't know if that, went that well, but.
It's interesting you say that, man, because that leads me to my next question. I mean, was that something that you always want to do, even from a young age?
I always had like a very, I guess maybe overactive imagination, but I actually, before I got into acting and stuff like that, I was actually played the drums, I think, before anything. A neighbor of mine who lived behind us had a drum set, and I would always hear him playing it, and I think that's kind of what turned me on to drums. But then when I have an older sister and I have an older brother, when they started going to high school, I would go see them in shows and stuff like that, that the theater would put on. And I think that's kind of how I got into more performing. I always continued to play drums. I still take lessons to this day, but theater was another outlet that I found through my brother and sister. I'd go see their shows and think, oh, that looks like fun. I think I want to try that when I get to high school. So actually, the first thing I ever did was at BHS, Brunswick High School, was a production of Godspell, the musical. And that was the first show I think I ever was a part of. And then from there, I just kind of fell in love with not so much I mean, I like musicals, okay. I don't really, even though I sing in Poultrygeist, I don't really consider myself a singer. But from then it just kind of snowballed into whatever I could get into. I would audition, I'd audition for anything, and whatever I could get into, that's what I would do.
So your parents were always supportive of you being an actor?
Always. Even, when I went to college, they did say to me, are you sure you don't want to maybe study something else? And And in hindsight, maybe that would have been useful. um, Not that I didn't learn a lot from like my acting degree, but you know, I definitely think you. How do I want to say this? I don't think you didn't necessarily need a degree to become an actor in it. You know what I mean? So, wait, what was the question?
I see your parents were always supportive of
Oh,
you.
but they were always supportive, yes. And you know, when Poultrygeist premiered in Manhattan, and all my family from Cleveland came to see it, and that zombie finger was shoved up my asshole, they were still very, very supportive. I'm like, oh, all right, well.
Well, it's definitely a performance that sticks with you for sure. I mean, I still love it the 7,000th time as opposed to the first time. And was there anything filming? I mean, how awkward was that, man? Like how did you even become to work with the great Lloyd Kaufman?
uh, so okay, so now it's not quite the same anymore, I don't think, but I would when I moved to Manhattan in 2003, you know, I would get this newspaper called Backstage,
Okay.
and it was basically just a publication of all the auditions being offered and what was going on around town. So they had put up a notice in Backstage, and it just the character that they were looking for sounded something that I would, you know, submit myself to. It was, you know, young, kind of nerdy guy who ends up becoming the hero, but you know, needs to be able to sing and, you know, be comfortable with that, which, you know, I can do okay. You know, I'm not auditioning for like American Idol or anything like that, but I figured I could, you know, carry a tune. So yeah, so I just submitted. Now this was back in when there were still black and white headshots, and you basically like mailed stuff in. So I mailed my headshot to them with my contact info, and yeah, got a call to come to audition. And that was, I say nowadays it's you know, everything's kind of done, you know, through computers and, you know, stuff like that. But this was old
Before that age.
black and white headshot. You type up your little cover letter. Hey, I'd love to audition, you know, and yeah, and that was.
So you never were like a Troma fan before. Have you ever even heard of them before you even auditioned?
So no, actually, and I've been asked this question before. You know, and I unfortunately I had never heard of them. And so when I actually got the job, I called my brother and I was like, "Oh yeah, I got this film. Yeah, it's my first film." And he freaked out because he was like, because he knew all about them, and I was like, "Oh, is that a good thing?" He's like, "Oh fuck yeah, this is great. This is."
That's awesome.
Yeah, I had never heard of it. True, honestly. Obviously, I know of it now, and
Are you a horror fan at all?
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, I love horror films. I guess I never really delved into that more underground, you know,
Subgenre.
subgenre. That's a good word. And so, you know, before we went out to shoot Poultrygeist, I was given a couple of their films to watch beforehand, and I remember thinking, "Oh God, what have I done? What did I get myself into? What the hell is this?" I think Lloyd gave me Terror Firmer, maybe.
That's another good one.
Is that the one where like I
With
just
the
remember this.
hermaphrodite serial killer.
Yeah, is there like a bathroom scene where he like
Are you talking about Citizen Toxie, maybe?
I'm not sure. I just remember thinking, uh-oh, like I guess I didn't realize what I just signed up for.
Well, I remember. I know Terror Firmer. He pisses on. He's a blind director, and he pisses on Debbie Richon. And
That's it. Yes, that was it. Yeah, that's it. I'm like, what the hell? What is going on?
well, that leads me to my next question. It's funny you say that. What's the difference from being on a Troma film set as opposed to any other film set?
Oh my God. Oh, it's like night and day. I had one little line on. I don't know if you've ever seen this show. It's called Blue Bloods.
Yes.
It's
That guy, I think.
yeah. One little line. You know, just some throwaway line. You know, I think back to that where like, you know, I had my own dressing room. They like delivered my clothes to me.
You didn't eat cheese sandwiches?
the The catering was like, I sound like such a snob, but like homemade chicken soup and hummus and cheese and meat spreads and coffee cart and this and that, and then and then Poultrygeist. I think by the end where they housed us, by the end it really smelled like cheddar cheese. I think I had more Chinese food ever, as the most Chinese food I've ever had in my entire life. And pizza and Chinese food was basically like the two choices. Do you want Chinese food or pizza tonight? But I have to say that it really prepared me for any kind of film set. I mean, it was like a different world. And so now you go to anything else and it's like, oh, I can handle
like
this.
Battle and like everything else is like pales in comparison. You're like, oh, this is nothing.
I lived in a room with 5 other guys. We had the only working air conditioner where they were housing us. The special effects department was in the basement. There was 1 shower in the house, I think. And mind you, everyone lived in the same house. So all the tech people, all the casts, all the whatever other jobs I'm kind of forgetting, like all the PAs and crew, and the actors did get the preference. They did get the showers, though. They did get to cut in line if there was a line for the shower, which there was, because everyone's covered with fake blood and guts and vomit and fake semen and
good stuff.
we go first in front of the shower line, so that was good. But yeah, so I mean, you do something like that, you can do anything, really.
So what was the best experience working on a film and the worst experience? I'm sure you have 2 in your mind that stand out.
The best and the worst. Well, one of the worst, it was funny, was on the day of when there was the big barf scene in the restaurant where Arby's trying to like catch everyone's barf and that's not really working. When you know it, that was the day that the shower had no hot water. So that was, that was kind of tricky, because you're covered in this shit, right? So that was kind of a rough day. The graveyard scene was kind of rough too. That was like an overnighter shoot. Which I think was maybe the first day of shooting, maybe too. So that was just kind of tricky to do, only because the graveyard was built on like a different. It was funny. It actually wasn't a graveyard. It was a different platform, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And then all the zombies that hands came out of the ground, they were down below. And I remember that there was a big fight that day because there was a line that Lloyd and the writer, Gabe Friedman, could not agree on. Whereas there was almost like one of them walked out, like, and meanwhile we're going, this was a non-SAG shoot, obviously, so there's no rules, like they can shoot for as long as they want. So that big fight was kind of interesting. That was the first I had seen that. I think I resolved the line, though. I think if the line, you feel so ambidextrous,
that was it.
I think that was an improv from me. I'm going to take credit for that, unless one of them kind of disputes it.
That's what Wendy says, right?
What's that?
Doesn't Wendy say that to you?
I thought it was me, but that settled the line dispute. That ambidextrous line settles it. So that was kind of interesting. There was also a day that one of the sound guys slapped me in the face. That was kind of an interesting day on set too. It was, in hindsight, I was probably being very uncooperative. If you ever tried to act opposite of Lloyd, it's so hard. All I could do was laugh the entire. He didn't know any of the lines. He doesn't know any.
Is that when he's doing the thing in the basement where with your and his balls fell out?
Yes.
How could you not laugh?
How could you not? I'm thinking about it now. I'm starting to laugh. So those 3 days were kind of tricky. I think one of the You're talking about the best days. I mean, I really enjoyed kind of seeing the special effects come to life, really.
Yeah, that's a show count. I mean, that probably has some of the most effects I've ever seen in a Troma movie. I mean,
that was really cool. I mean, that was my first experience really with like horror movie special effects. So I think I liked kind of seeing any of that stuff, really. Although it was funny because Lloyd never quite thought it was good enough, so he'd always be screaming like, "More blood, you fucking retards! What the hell? What the fuck is this? You know, more blood, more semen, more whatever." You know, so that was always kind of interesting. But and as much as he like yelled at people, they loved it. I mean, that was like the experience, right? That was the
it's asshole time.
yeah. I mean, that's what people were signing up for. So yeah.
Do you still talk to anybody from the cast?
I talk to Lloyd once in a while. You know, we'll email back and forth. I actually just emailed him recently because I'm sure you know that you know, Toxic Avenger is getting the big Hollywood redo, right? So I actually just talked to him maybe about a month ago because I was saying to him, hey, you know,
buddy,
what's up?
You should be Melvin.
No. I actually was just writing in and just saying, hey, how about just like a little featured extra, or maybe just like a one line, you know, here.
I'm telling you, you'd be a perfect Melvin. I'm telling you.
Well, I think they'll probably go with maybe, you know, maybe like a bigger move, like a movie star. I wouldn't like, you know, someone who can maybe sell some tickets.
I'd rather see you personally.
Well, I appreciate it. But I was thinking, you know, if it'd be cool if they brought some older Troma actors in just for like little cameos. That way, kind of.
I would love to see you even have a cameo, man. Who would you pick as the talk? I mean, who would you pick as Melvin? Like if you had to pick like a more known actor.
You know, it's funny. I was literally just doing this in my head because yesterday they released who the director was, right?
That's a good choice, I think. I think that'll be interesting.
What's that?
I think he's a good choice because I'm pretty critical. That dude's had a couple good films already, and I think I think it's kind of it's kind of good to get somebody that's not making so many goofy movies and is kind of a little more experienced. So I mean, I think that's a good choice.
I kept going back to. Have you seen the movie Happy Death Day?
I just went to see the other one.
I think the lead guy in that.
You mean the guy that's the killer?
No, the curly-haired boyfriend guy.
Oh, that guy? I could see him pulling that off. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. I kind of kept that's kind of who I kept going back to. You know, he's not
really well known, though, man. You're probably more well known than that dude, I would say.
There's no way. There's no way. No way.
That's the only thing I've ever seen that dude in.
Well, me too, but
I think you're selling yourself short there, Mister. I have to say.
Well, I appreciate it, but
how about Kevin Bacon? Is he gonna? Maybe he should be Melvin Junket.
Why not?
No more ridiculous than I heard people say that he should be Freddy Krueger, and I'm like, I don't know though. He has a kind of he's kind of sinister in the Hollow Man, so I'm thinking, okay, well maybe I don't know.
Why are they doing that again?
They're trying to reboot Elm Street again, yeah, but I mean, there's some sort of legality as to why it hasn't happened. But I mean, I don't know. Just you're a horror nerd. You like to replay all these things in your head, like, oh, who can they reboot that with? Like, who's this?
Yeah. I heard they were rebooting Child's Play.
That looks so terrible, man.
Not sure if I'm loving that idea, but
my heart belongs to Don Mancini. How long did it take you to learn all those fucking songs from Poultrygeist, man? That had to be an arduous task. That was
probably I'm no singer, okay? Like I said, I can carry a tune, but singing those songs, I think what actually helped though was we recorded those in Manhattan. So then when we were filming, they were just played over a speaker and we lip sang.
Oh yeah?
Yes. So it was not, which was a huge help because
I was gonna say the takes on that would have been incredible if you had to keep doing that over and over and over and over again.
And he still shoots on 35 millimeter, so you can imagine like
I waste all that celluloid.
I mean, how so we did one round of recording, sent it over, and they actually had us re-record a bunch of times, to put more feeling into it. So that actually helped, because in the sound booth, if you mess up, okay, no problem, just stop and cut it out. And so having it re-recorded or having it played back and just being able to lip sync, hugely helpful.
They're so catchy, man. Have you ever been in the shower and you just start singing one of those after all these years? Because, like, I do on a regular basis, man. I'll be at work and I'm like, heavenly slow fast food love.
I like hearing people sing them. I
like that. They should do a musical, like a real musical, like at the Benedum, and you should start it.
Didn't they do the Toxic Avenger musical, right?
I wanted to go see it, man. I missed it. It actually did.
I had never seen it either.
I actually heard it's pretty fun. I'd like to go.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of, what do you do for fun?
I go on a lot of hikes with my dog.
That's pretty cool.
I go to a lot of horror movies.
That's awesome, dude. I can't believe you're like into the genre. That's great.
Play the drums, yeah, my wife and I go to a lot. Yeah, she really likes horror films too, actually.
That helps, man. That's I couldn't be with somebody that doesn't.
I say the same thing. It's very rare to find someone who does, but
she wasn't super deep into it when we met, and like neither like with Howard Stern. Like I couldn't be with somebody. It's such an intricate part of my life. Like I've been in relationships where like the people get sick of me because like you're that's such a big part of it. It's like, oh, I don't know, they don't get it. So like, when you find that person that actually lets you be you and gets, the things that you're into, it's a keeper for sure, man.
Yeah. So what do for fun? Yeah. I mean, did I answer that question? Yeah, right?
So
yeah.
Have you yourself ever had a paranormal experience?
No, you know what? I have not, actually, sadly. Well, I want one, but I'm afraid to have one too. At the same time, like I think I'd be really scared, but I still kind of want to have one. But no, I haven't. And that's something else we do for fun. We happen to go to a lot of seances, actually. There's a place down in. Are you familiar with the Jersey Shore at all?
I've only been there once, so not really.
There's a town on the Jersey Shore called Asbury Park. You're a punk guy. That's where the Bouncing Souls are from.
Okay, that's why that sounds familiar. Okay. I was going to say.
There's a great shop there called Paranormal Books and Curiosities.
Ooh.
Really cool. If you're ever in the area, you got to check them out.
But I asked all my guests, so buckle up. Do you have a good shit your pants story?
I've got a good shit story, but I didn't shit my pants.
Did you shit somebody else's pants?
Oh my god, this is so embarrassing. But my wife loves to tell this story. On one of our first dates, when she came over, I was living in Brooklyn at the time, and I was really, really nervous, so I had to go to the bathroom. And I was living in like an apartment with a couple friends, and my room actually had its own bathroom. And so I was like, before we went out, I was like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom really quickly. So just hold up for 1 second. So I went to the bathroom and, it wouldn't flush. Do you know what I mean? So I was nervous that she was then going to say, oh, well, I have to go to the bathroom before we leave too. So I had to use a bag to bag it to get it to get it out of the toilet. So I came out of the bathroom holding this bag, and she's like, "What's in that bag?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. I just changed the trash before we before we left. But I was carrying my shit."
Dude, that might be the best one yet.
I couldn't flush it, and I was nervous she was going to use the bathroom after.
How did you sneakily, conveniently get your bag of shit like out of there without her noticing?
I mean, she noticed. Now, to this day, I've never admitted that that's what it was, but she has a suspicion as to what it was because it was shaped, you know. So I.
That's great.
There goes your viewership is going to go down after that one.
Oh, my viewership's going to go up after that. I don't know what show you think you're on.
So.
Oh, that's killer.
Okay, next question. So I know that didn't really count. It wasn't really like a show.
No. Oh my God, that totally counted. That's fantastic. All right, what's the funniest porno you've ever saw?
Funniest porno?
Yeah.
I'll tell you the one that kind of Can I tell you a scarred me porno?
Ooh, even better.
And maybe because it was the first porno I ever saw. My best friend growing up, he was a little older than me. Was like, yeah, I got this porno tape. My mom and dad aren't gonna be there. Let's check it out. So I was like, okay. I didn't really know exactly what this was yet. I was young. I was impressionable, and this particular porno film had this woman was like kind of like roped up, like was being strangled.
God damn.
And he was doing stuff with like hot wax while he was strangling her. That kind of, I don't know, that kind of scarred me. I still remember it to this day.
Sure it wasn't Willem Dafoe?
I think so.
Wasn't all the evidence?
But so yeah, that kind of scarred me. I realized, all right, well, I'm not really into like the whole
torture thing.
Torturing and like, even though I don't mind seeing horror films like that, and he was like whipping her and like strangling her, and
Jeez.
That kind of turned me off to that. But
as anybody, I hope. I mean, geez.
Actually, speaking of horror films, I'm not huge on like the torture ones.
I'm not either. In fact,
I actually like more of the monster, supernatural kind of ones.
I'll go so far as to say that I think I'm definitely not for censorship in any way, shape, or form. But that being said, I do think a lot of that stuff. I'm so passionate about the genre. I do think it gives our genre a bad name. Like I think I'm with you. Like I grew up on like monster movies and like suspense and camera films and I'd take atmosphere over any of that bullshit any day of the week. Where can we find your music at?
All right, so if you go to my Instagram page, which actually is JSN, and then my last name, which I won't. Do you want me to spell it or?
Yeah, absolutely.
So JSN YACHANIN 23, and the reason why the 23 is there. Oh, here's something people probably don't know about me. Huge basketball fan. I love basketball.
Oh yeah.
So when LeBron James was on the Cavaliers, obviously, like we were the shit, right? So that's why my Instagram handle is JSN Yachanin 23 because that was his number on the Cavs. But on my page, there's a link to my group that I drum with, and also people can see the Tales from Beyond the Pale info too, if anyone's interested in that. I'm
gonna definitely go back and check that out. I'm gonna check your music out, and I strongly encourage my audience to do the same.
I'm gonna do a shout out for your show, so I'll put that on Instagram too, and I'll have the link to your page and stuff.
I am flattered, sir. Thank you so much. And I want to thank you for doing this. Thank you for ruining your whole afternoon for my stupidity.
Great.
And there you have it, cats. That just about does it for this week's Balls from Ellwood show. Thanks, Jason Yachanin, for showing up and being my guest. As for next week, you will hear a brand new Bustin' Balls, and I know you missed her this week, but you're going to have a very special Depravity Corner with Xtina next week, so you have that to look forward to. Other than that, cats, peace and love, peace and love. Join us next week. Baba Booey to y'all.
The chicken has declared jihad on us all!